In Star Dynasties, you don't conquer with fleets. You do it with favors, threats, marriages, and sometimes a well-placed assassination. This isn't about building an empire from scratch. It's about keeping your dynasty alive in the ruins of a crumbling galaxy. Star Dynasties, if you're unfamiliar, has you lead your house in a crumbling post-collapse galaxy. I'll actually just go ahead and quote the game here. In the 22nd century, humanity had a foothold in the stars, but the inadvertent destruction of Earth has plunged the galaxy into a new dark age. In the years since the collapse, there has been a near total loss of the political, technological, and economic advances of human civilization. The initial focus of the colonies, never intended to be self-sufficient, was simply survival. Disconnection of the lifeline of resources from Earth wiped out many, and the survivors faced a most desperate enemy, each other. The ensuing lawlessness shattered the old political structure and led to the rise of warlords and a brutal cycle of subsistence and war. Several hundred years later, the colonies have stabilized into a simple feudal society, unable to understand and extend the technological artifacts it uses to survive. An aristocratic elite fight between themselves for the right to rule over the scattered fragments of humankind. The game starts in 2500, and you're the head of a star dynasty of your own creation. You get to decide the name and what character traits you and your family have, as well as the traits of your dynasty and starting system. Whether you're an upstart duke who just took control of your planet, or your dynasty is known for being pacifist, which makes you worse at military endeavors. This game is all about character-driven interactions, not war and map painting. It's really similar to Crusader Kings 3 in a way that, well, unlike Crusader Kings 3, military might is one of the worst ways to cement your control over the galaxy. Much like medieval politics, claims matter a lot, and so does your reputation. If you conquer a system without having the claim to back it up, it destroys your reputation. And it destroys it even more when you depose the Baron in charge of the planet and put a loyalist in. And when your reputation tanks, everyone abandons you and turns on you. Your vassals will change their allegiance to other empires, your people will start to rebel, and your family will start to plot against you. An easy way to lose is to tank your reputation. I actually lost the game by winning too much. I had a superior fleet and conquered 2 systems. I easily took them, but I didn't have the claims. And after taking the system, the empire I spent decades creating fell apart. My vassals declared independence, and then the other empires started to pick my body. So how do you actually rule in Star Dynasties? It all comes down to politics, reputation, and relationships, rather than military might. This game is turn-based, and at the start of a game, after character creation, you will finally see your domain. And then you'll assign your family members to your council, who will increase your 5 empire stats, which affect your vassal limits, meaning how many barons you can have under you and how powerful you are. You want more vassals, you want more land, you want more wealth. Also, every turn you will have the ability to assign family members to do certain actions, like rebuild your military fleet, prepare your defenses, which increases your fleet powers when getting attacked in that system. You can also rebuild the ruins on your systems or in your planets. That's right, you don't get to choose what you build on your planet. You can only repair the ruins of old buildings. The universe is a lot like the old Fallout games. Your society is built on the ruins of an old, technologically advanced empire that people can now never dream of understanding. Technology, you could never replicate what humanity previously did. A lot of the game will be spent managing vassals and family members. The goal of the game is to get everyone to like you, lest they decide that they would be a better sovereign. To manage vassals, you can cultivate friendships with them, like throwing feasts and invite them or send gifts, or if that doesn't work, you can ultimately murder them or blackmail them, ensuring they stay in line, or after you kill them, you can then take their next heir in line under your wing and have them like you. Every character in game also has traits that decide how they act and how they feel about other characters. It's very similar to the Crusader King system of character traits. And the game is actually a lot more fun when you actually lean into your character traits like the AI does, and don't just attempt to min-max every decision. There's also a lot of great random events, like I had one where after exploring on my planet, I had found an incubation center made for creating genetically enhanced babies. Finally, I could have the perfect heir, and after finding the 2 other systems with the rest of the incubation supplies, I finally had the perfect son. But there was one issue. I had 2 sons before him who were not fit to rule under any circumstances. But unfortunately, my player character did not have long left to live, since he was so old. So rather than actually coming up with a cunning plan, I decided to just declare my new son my heir, upsetting my entire family and realm. But I knew it was for the best, but unfortunately I died shortly after. And now my infant son was in charge of a realm who hated him. But after many years of growing up and having vassals defect other empires and getting attacked constantly, and having a regent rule in the stead of my son, I could finally retake my land and empire. And due to my amazing stats, it was so much easier, and people actually liked me. The in-game events are so much more interesting than Crusader Kings 3 and actually open up a lot more immersion storytelling that I think Crusader Kings 3 kind of lacks. There are a couple of events that are just a bit boring, but the game doesn't spam you with them. Like, I've never dealt with my character having the same event 10 times in one lifetime like I do in Crusader Kings 3 constantly. But now let's talk about the overall pros and cons of this game. I've been generally positive so far, I think, but this game does have a few shortcomings, which if you're looking at it as I play, I think you'll notice a couple of them. But let's talk about what I like first. I think the narrative and emergent storytelling is great. You get to decide your own story and what's important to you, whether that's seeing your realm prosper or attempting to expand. And if you do want to expand, it's actually hard to. At least if you're not playing on easy difficulty. You can't just immediately start blobbing. It actually takes planning or cunning to grow your empire. It's not like Crusader Kings where you're just declaring war every 10 seconds and you are just so much smarter than the AI that you'll just win basically every war. It actually takes some skill to expand. I also find the universe, while not super fleshed out, to be very interesting. I love post-apocalyptic worlds. Your ancestors have already lived through a catastrophic time, and now there's a new society built on the ruins of an old one, and you're a part of it. Again, you're never going to find out why Earth collapsed or what happened or what technology there was, but that's sort of part of the charm, part of the lore. You're never going to understand. It's going to take the society that you inhabit hundreds, if not thousands of years to get back to where you were. So unfortunately, you just got to live in the ruins for now. Now, there are some glaring weaknesses, with I think the biggest being the lack of depth. Unfortunately, the game doesn't have a lot of content to offer. There was only one DLC released, and the game just really isn't infinitely replayable like you think of most other Paradox Grand Strategy games are. Once you hit endgame, you'll basically be done playing. This isn't a game where you can sink 20 hours in one campaign. I've played around 40 hours total, and I think I've enjoyed and experienced everything the game has to offer. The warfare system is also pretty weak. I'm fine with that since that's not really the focus. But essentially when you attack, you click what system to attack, and then you call up your fleets and call up your vassals' fleets. And then maybe you can get somebody else to join in if you're willing to bribe them or they like you enough. And then you basically just sort of roll dice to see who wins. Again, it's a little boring, but again, warfare really is not the focus. The UI is also somewhat confusing, and the design of the game isn't really intuitive. You'll have to click through a lot of menus whenever you want to do something, and that is a turnoff for a lot of people. And lastly, I think the price point is a bit ridiculous. At the time of me making this, it's on sale for around $8, which I picked it up for. I think that's a great price. But it's usually $31, and then I think the DLC on top of that is another like $10, so basically $40 in total to actually experience the game, which is honestly way too much. Unless you have some money to burn or it really appeals to you, the price is not justified by the content available. But overall, I think it's a pretty strong 7 out of 10. You know, I wish they were still going to continue development because I do think this game has some great bones. I wish they could just add a bit more. But, you know, maybe one day the dev team will come back to the universe and continue to expand or maybe make a sequel. I know a lot of people just like to straight up compare this to Crusader Kings 3 in space, which, you know, I'm guilty of that as well. There are obviously a lot of similarities. But, you know, I think it does some things better than Crusader Kings 3, and then obviously a lot of things worse, but it is still its own game at the end of the day, and I think if you do enjoy Crusader Kings, that you'll get a kick out of this. Hopefully not at the $31 price point, though. So that is all I have. Sorry about missing last week's upload. I was moving out that day, and yeah, I just didn't feel like making a video. Sorry, guys. But that's all I got. So, you know, like, subscribe, and please remember that Jesus loves you.